Hey everyone, thank you for joining us at the Bee's Knees podcast. And this is episode 3.
And this week we're talking about sitcoms. We like talking about a whole lot of topics. Join us if you please, cause we're the Bee's Knees, oh yeah.
Okay, so sitcoms. We're talking about sitcoms today. And what sparked this was I saw somewhere, I don't remember where now, but I saw somewhere that people are saying that New Girl is the modern day Friends. And I have to disagree with that because there's another show on Prime Video called Happy Endings that is just more comparable to Friends.
Yeah, I think the group dynamic that New Girl has isn't quite the same, mostly just because it has a smaller cast. So all of the people are kind of filling in more roles. Like you have more of the goofiness. Like each character has their own goofiness. Each character has their own weird neurotic tendencies. Like they're kind of a collection of all these different personality traits that each individual character has in a show like Friends. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of a different dynamic, which makes it for a different show.
Yeah, so it's not really that comparable in my opinion, but when you have shows like Friends and Happy Endings, it's really easy to see the commonalities that the characters share. Like in Friends, there's Monica, who is a perfectionist. She has her control issues, a little bit neurotic tendencies sometimes.
Yeah.
Neat freak. She's just very organized. And in Happy Endings, you have Jane, who's pretty much the same. She has those same qualities. They're directed a little bit differently in the show because they aren't just like the exact same show or the exact same character, but they both have those tendencies.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both also definitely the glue character of the show. Mm-hmm. Like without Monica to bring Ross into the picture, to bring Rachel in as like a former best friend, there's no reason for any of these people to be hanging out together.
Yeah, and even Phoebe was her former roommate.
Yeah.
So it's just like it kind of leads back to Monica, and then likewise Jane has the same thing. Like her husband is there, her sister is there. They're just there initially because of Jane.
Yeah.
So both these characters have significant others in the show. Monica has Chandler and Jane has Brad. And these characters also seem to have similar personality traits. They're both the funny ones, just Brad is a lot cooler.
He really is. And I feel like that's definitely because he's being portrayed by Damon Wayans Jr., who just, in general, he has that force of personality that really just pushes this jokester character into like a different level than Chandler.
Yeah.
Plus, they both have daddy issues.
Yeah, like Chandler is traumatized by his childhood and how involved he was in his parents' divorce, their affairs, and just he was involved in too much and exposed to too much as a child.
And Brad's issues are just that his dad won't tell him that he loves him.
Yeah, there's that like emotional connection that isn't really established between the two of them.
And it really was Monica and Jane in both of these situations that kind of prompted them to rebuild their relationships with their father.
Yeah.
And these glue characters.
Glue characters.
You like that?
Yeah.
They bring their siblings kind of into this equation.
Yeah, so Monica has Ross and Jane has Alex. And both of these characters are the favored child to their parents. It's said many times that Ross can pretty much get away with anything as far as his parents are concerned. And Alex is the youngest, so she's the cute baby of the family, and she can pretty much get away with anything and also gets a lot of attention or had got a lot of attention growing up. And then both of these characters bring in their relationships.
Yeah.
So then with Ross, you've got Rachel. With Alex, you've got Dave. And so if we're going to do the whole comparison thing, Rachel and Alex are the ones that are really, their characters are more alike.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, you've got that they're the favorite child, but thinking of their characteristics in the show, Alex is more comparable to Rachel. So you've got Rachel and Alex. They're both spoiled, runaway bride, and they are both into fashion.
Yeah.
They are both pegged as the dumb, naive, hot ones, so to speak, even though they're all attractive. But yeah, so they both have that cluelessness. They don't really know how to function in the real world because they were spoiled growing up and they always had someone looking out for them.
Yeah.
So that's really how they are comparable.
Yeah. And then on the other side of those relationships, you have Ross and Dave, and they're both just pathetic humans.
Mm-hmm.
Ross at least has his professional life down.
Yep.
It's just his emotional and romantic life that is just a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's Dave. This man, his romantic life has run away from him, literally. His work life, he quits his job to pursue a passion, but he has no idea how.
Yeah, like his passion was cooking, but he really only had one sandwich that he was good at making.
Yeah, so what's the best thing to do? Get a food truck.
Yeah.
But not just any food truck. A food truck where your key is a screwdriver. Like, this man, like, the only thing you can say about him is that he's trying his best.
Yeah, he's trying. He's really out there trying.
Like, just Dave, man. And what more do you want to say?
Yeah, that's really all you can say. Yeah, so then we go on to our fun, loving, goofy characters, the Playboys. We've got Joey and Max.
Yeah.
So they are just like the players. That's really what they are. Joey doesn't really maintain any long-lasting relationships. Max doesn't maintain any long-lasting relationships. They both have a couple relationships along the way, but they don't last long, and Max definitely has commitment issues.
Yeah.
And they're also the more lazy character. They're always seen lounging around, eating whatever. They both are characters that love to eat. And they're also the character that the other friends feel that they have to take care of them. Like Joey especially, when Monica and Chandler are looking for a house, they prioritize a room for Joey. Like it's an ongoing joke that someone has to take care of Joey.
Yeah. And the female version of the fun-loving friend in the shows, even though they don't have a ton of deep kind of correlations between them, but Phoebe and Penny are both kind of the weird character.
Yeah.
Which, apart from just being the weird character, they're very different. But the aspect of their weirdness really just gives you just a lot of room as a show to play with.
Yeah.
Like you have things from like Penny lying about her age to get a boyfriend, and like the things that come out of that. Whereas like with Phoebe, you have things like changing her name to Princess Consuela Banana Hammock.
Yeah.
Like it's strange things that come out of it, and it just makes your show a little bit more memorable.
Yeah, plus both their names start with P, so they've got that in common.
There it is, folks. So that's our comparison between the two shows' characters and why we think Happy Endings is just a much better fit to be compared to Friends than New Girl is.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about Happy Endings that Friends didn't do was they added diversity to the show.
Yeah, they've got Brad and Max, who are both able to shine a light on the struggles they face, being a black man and a gay man. It's just a whole new kind of direction that Friends, I don't know if they couldn't, but they didn't show.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, this was back in 2011, so a lot of just like the current race issues, it's not that they weren't happening, it's just they weren't as public. There wasn't as much general media coverage of these things. So it was just nice to have these tidbits of reminders that helped keep us rural white people informed that racism is still a thing.
Yeah, it's still a thing. It's still a problem. And it's a problem that a vast majority of the world has to face every single day.
Absolutely. And I have to wonder if Damon Wayans Jr. kind of had a part in kind of putting that into the show, because his character Coach and Winston kind of did a similar thing in New Girl, where they just brought up and talked about race issues.
Yeah.
Basically, Happy Endings and their cast used their characters to represent the communities by people involved, not just outsider perspective that Friends did.
Yeah, okay. So kind of derailing a little bit, but I just have to say that Brad and Jane are just couple goals.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like they have so much fun. They have so much fun together. They have a great positive relationship structure. They're supportive of one another. Plus, they're really hot. So,
yeah, they are.
They're just the best couple in the show.
Yeah. They're really the power couple of the show. Just like in Friends, Monica and Chandler are the power couple.
Yeah, it's just that in Friends, Monica and Chandler get overshadowed by all the drama that is caused by Ross and Rachel.
Yeah, and that's really just what they are, is just drama.
Yeah, and they had just that allure of like, will they get back together? Will they not get back together? Oh my gosh, Rachel's pregnant. Who's the dad? What? It's Ross? So like all of that just kind of gets put ahead of the great couple that Monica and Chandler are.
Yeah. Whereas like Jane and Brad, Monica and Chandler, they just kind of have a better chemistry together.
Yeah, they have a better chemistry. And in Happy Endings, there's nobody that overshadows Jane and Brad.
Yeah.
There's a couple times where Jane gets a little intimidated that Penny and her new boyfriend are getting serious and they might come close to being, oh, are they more compatible than we are? And they have a game night, and funnily enough, Jane and Brad don't do well at all during the game night. And I think that has to do with Jane's super competitive nature, which is funny because Monica is also really well known for her competitive nature. But in the end, Brad reassures them that they are stronger than ever. They're each other's rock. They've got each other's back. And a stupid game night isn't going to prove that. It's just something that they know, it's in their relationship, and they have nothing to prove to anybody else. And it just really shows that they are a great couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you said, Jane and Brad have great chemistry together. And it just reminded me of an article that I had read. And the article had listed out actors and their characters that didn't have great on-screen chemistry. And I was surprised because I saw that Jess and Nick from New Girl were on that list. And I always thought that they did have good chemistry. Like the whole time that I watched it, the first time, the second time, fourth time, 10th time, whatever, every time I am rooting for them. I like them as a couple. And I know they're on again, off again, but their attraction to each other is always there. It's mentioned in between their relationships with other people. They always care for each other. And I don't know, what do you think? Do you think that they do or not, or what?
Well, okay, so I don't think they have bad chemistry at all, because it just shows them being just real people. Like at the start, they're just not very compatible because they're both going through stuff. They don't know what's going on.
And they're opposites.
Yes, she's this way, he's the other, and they just don't work together because it's almost like they don't really know who they are. But then fast forward like a season or two, and she's kind of stopped expecting so much, and he's realized that he's just some crabby old man who maybe needs to modernize and work with other people.
Yeah, and they also, like when they did break up, they had that time to work on themselves, I guess, too, so that later on when they ended up getting back together, it was very like they're best friends who love each other.
Yeah.
which I think added to their chemistry. So I don't remember if this article was out before when they got back together or if it was when they first got together. I can't remember.
It probably came out in the middle of season 1 when they were still in their incompatible stage.
Probably.
But like, I feel like that was an intentional thing. Like, yeah, they had this initial attraction, but their personalities were very different at the time.
Yeah. Every time I rewatch it, I'm looking for reasons why they would be lacking chemistry.
I feel like you're looking for something that's just not there.
I'm just trying to understand.
Well, just understand that they are great together, and the article is wrong.
Okay.
And if you want a taste of Ben's hot takes, I will throw towards you that the real couple in New Girl that doesn't have great on-screen chemistry is Cece and Schmidt.
Ooh, you're really hitting with the unpopular opinion here.
Well, at the end of it, they're great.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of it, like, it feels like a side story that they just decided to stick with.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, Schmidt was always just like, there's this hot woman. Look how hot she is. Look at this hot woman. I must have her.
Yeah.
And luckily it turned out to be a good thing. But in the start, it didn't seem like it was going anywhere.
Well, yeah, that's just because they were just two people hooking up. And you saying that reminds me of when they first start hooking up and how Cece in the beginning was embarrassed by Schmidt. Like, I think she was at the peak moment of her modeling career and she didn't want him anywhere near her career, her social life, nothing.
Yeah.
And it's funny looking back on that because later when Schmidt starts dating Fawn
Moscato.
Yes.
Councilwoman.
Well, yes. And Cece hates her because she is trying to change Schmidt to fit her image. And it's just like, but Cece, you were aware that Schmidt didn't fit your image. And so you just like put him in a closet and saved him for later whenever you wanted him.
Yeah, so it's things like that just make me think that they are the least chemical couple. I don't know.
But like at the same time, they aren't in a relationship. They're just hooking up. So do they really need to have that kind of chemistry? They've got physical chemistry, and I think that's all that they really needed at that point in the series.
Yeah, I guess. I'll turn it around to the low key, the real power couple of New Girl, Winston and Ferguson.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's just a man and his cat just living life, getting into trouble.
He is so ridiculous with that cat. It's just amazing. Oh, I love it. Okay, so just speaking about Winston, him and Allie are so cute together, and it makes me kind of sad that they don't get like hardly any attention.
Yeah, I like them because Winston is just a weird guy.
Yeah.
He's soft, you know?
Yeah.
And then she's just this like tough little firecracker.
Mm-hmm.
But actually she's just like really sensitive about him.
Yeah, she is.
And they'll just like sing little songs to each other.
Yeah.
And Winston-esque stuff.
Yeah. They're just so cute together, and I wish that there was more Allie and Winston.
But there's not.
Like, getting way off track, though. In Desperados, we got to see them together. Different characters and totally different stories and everything, but physically they're there.
Yeah, now you're getting into a whole different podcast territory. We're talking about sitcoms and New Girl and all this, and you're going ahead bringing movies into this.
I'm sorry.
So
I just want more Allie and Winston. Is that too much?
Just calm your jets. All right?
Okay.
Anyways, that's our take on why Happy Endings is a better comparison to Friends. Mm-hmm. Why New Girl is not. And then just some of the sick power couples that we like.
Yeah. So let us know if you agree, disagree. Would you say New Girl is the modern day Friends, or maybe Happy Endings is the better fit? And let us know what you're binging right now. Maybe it'll give us some material to binge as well.
And please check out our social media. We have Twitter at the Bees Knees Cast and YouTube and Instagram at the Bees Knees Podcast.
And don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, rate, review,
and download.
Just all the things. Thanks for joining us this week at the Bees Knees Podcast, and we'll talk to you next week.